waving khaki. We start off with Leo, and at first when I saw the cover page, I was like, wait, what? What are Nami and Robin doing in the cover page? But no, it's actually Viola and Rebecca. But then I thought to myself, are they still in Dressrosa? Because I'm pretty sure that Rebecca, right about now, should be trying to get ready to go to the Reverie. I actually thought that because we saw Vivi and Vivi was already on her way and she was on her ship, I thought that Rebecca for sure at this point would already be on a ship on the way to the Reverie. But it seems like they're still, judging from the background, it seems like they're still in Dressrosa. I guess she's been busy making these costumes for the Tontada, who have now declared themselves, or at least Leo has declared himself to be a pirate, which, given the fact that he's already part of a pirate fleet alliance, I think it's more of a formality at this point. It's also the first time that we see a Straw Hat Fleet member in the cover page, and Oda doesn't show us their ship first. Probably due to the fact that the Tontadas don't have one, because then it would just be kind of a joke if like you have like these giant vessels coming in and then the little tiny Tontada ship just comes in. It would probably just be brushed aside fairly easily, even though the Tontada themselves are actually pretty strong. Like I remember back in Dressrosa, Leo was able to stitch some marine ships together. Anyway, we open up with Daifuku, who has to rub himself repeatedly to summon his armament hockey genie. And there was a mistake. There was a mistake because the chapter calls him the 26th son of the Charlotte family, when in fact he's actually the third. So I want the third son of the Charlotte family to fight the third son of the Vinsmoke family. You see what I did there? Battle of the Third Sons hype! In all seriousness though, this chapter does end up hyping Daifuku a little bit, because he gets his spear, the genie gets his spear, and just casually slashes through three tart chips. Carrot dodges, because, you know, she's super fast, and she's still going around ripping the helms out of the ships and electrocuting people. And the thing is, the way that Oda draws her is very graceful. It's almost like she's like performing a dance, even though she's taking out all these ships, right? It's very graceful. I think the cliffhanger from the last chapter kind of left it off as, is Carrot possibly going to fight Daifuku 1v1? Is that what Oda was setting up? That's the idea, that's the impression that a lot of us got in the previous chapter, but since she reverts back to her normal form in this chapter, it's kind of like, I'm telling you man, Daifuku versus Sanji. I'm pretty sure Capone's ship has to sail by Daifuku's fleet anyway. Which, by the way, I love how he's essentially like cutting up his own ships. Also, I kind of got the impression that Jinbei was sort of foreshadowing a possible drawback, a possible weakness for the Minks when it comes to their transformation under the full moon. Because imagine that he says, as long as the phases of the moon and the clouds in the sky are on their side, this is the power of the Minks. So it clearly depends on the moon being visible, and if the Minks show up in Wano, and Kaido already knows this, then all he would really need to do would be to find a way of covering up the moon, or heck, maybe even destroying the moon like Master Roshi or something. You see what I'm saying? Maybe a calamity such as Jack could like release a special ability, or heck, maybe Jack could even use his poisonous gas to try and cover it up or something, so that the moonlight doesn't have the effect that it has here. Another problem here, according to Jinbei, is that if the Mink does not control this power, it could be fatal, because they'll exhaust themselves fighting through the night. And I'm pretty sure Peckham's cannot control this power, at least not yet. So that's going to be a problem if he transforms and just goes on a rampage. Which actually, now that I think about it, kind of explains why Peckham's uses sunglasses. It's because Carrot says in the chapter that you can use sunglasses to sort of cover yourself up from the moon so that you don't get that exposure. Which is funny because initially I just thought that Peckham's was like hiding his eyes because he was embarrassed of how they looked, but they actually serve a purpose. Unless of course Carrot meant that the Minks actually need to use some special type of glasses like the ones that you would use to look at an eclipse, you know, more or less. Now what's interesting is that even somebody like Carrot, who has this form completely under control, she kind of alludes to the fact that she can't stay in this form for very long because she loses consciousness. She's like, oh man, like I'm losing consciousness. How many ships are left? As she's, you know, ripping off these steering wheels and electrocuting people. She's worried, right? And in fact, Brook comes in to save her in a way. He's like, hey, yo! I like how they reintroduced his ability to run on water because he's so light due to being hollow, just a hollow pile of bones. So he comes in there to help, and he tells Carrot, I actually put a ship to sleep for you. I hope that's enough. And she's like, that's perfect. Thank you, Baron Corpse. Let's go. And he carries her away, and I'm like, wait, hold on. Like, the only reason Brook is able to run on water is because he's so light. So what should have happened, and this would have been hilarious, is if, like, once Carrot jumps on Brook, he should have just, like, drowned. I mean, and you see him carry her, like, Woo! Let's go! Oh my gosh. In fact, I think it would have been better if they had fallen into the water. It would have been funny for one, but it would have been better because Jinbei at the end of the chapter is literally telling everybody else to like prepare to abandon ship. So if they're going to jump into the water anyway, then everybody would just end up at the same place. Sanji and Capone have a little bit of a difference of opinion in terms of what to do with the cake. Capone wants to poison it to kill Big Mom, and Sanji says no, because that's his code as a cook. You know, that's just how loyal Sanji is to his initial code as a cook. It goes back to his days back at the Baratier. Actually, even before that. Actually, it goes back to when he was starving to death on that rock with Zeph. So he's like, no, I like how he says, if you want to kill her, go ahead, but do it after I give her the cake. And there's a pretty insightful line from Capone where he says, Sanji, you have no idea what Big Mom has experienced. There's been instances in the past where she has regretted letting people go, letting people live, all right? So she's learned that lesson and she's not willing to do it again. And so I was thinking, is that like a reference to Goldie Roger? And I think it's definitely worth mentioning how great some of the art looks in this chapter. When Capone gets a free sample from the cake and he kind of falls down, there's a scene, it's a small panel, but it's really good looking, where Sanji's like standing there with his hands in his pockets and all of Capone's men have drawn their weapons, and it just looks, it's great. Pudding faints because Sanji's being manly by sticking to his code as a cook, although let's face it, she's also very thirsty at this point. And the sequence ends with Sanji thinking about Nami. He's like, I hope you're safe, I'm about to get there, so just hold on. And I don't know if you know this, but there is like this back and forth, this push and pull thing between people that ship Nami and Sanji and people that ship Pudding and Sanji. So has Oda taken a page out of Kishimoto's book? You know what I just totally remembered right now? What happened to Pound? We still didn't get to find out who that sword, who that blade belonged to. It seemed like Oven was about to sort of end Pound, but we don't get that answer in this chapter. Anyway, it just popped into my mind all of a sudden. Pero, despite the fact that Sanji and Capone have decided not to poison the cake, he won't trust that cake anyway, because it's like it's coming, you know, in on Capone's ship. So somebody aboard Capone's ship may have to taste the cake to prove to the other side that it's not poisoned. But now that I think about it, once they taste the cake, they'll probably faint, and they'll think that it's poisoned anyway. It's I don't know. This is interesting. Big Mom is getting skinnier, so she asks Napoleon to send out a signal to summon Prometheus and Zeus. And by the way, I recently watched an anime episode, and I really liked Big Mom's pronunciation of the homies. She says, Zeus, Prometheus. Now, Prometheus tells Zeus, if you betray Mama again, I won't forgive you, which may be foreshadowing to a point where maybe if Nami is able to get Zeus on their side again, then Prometheus will be so angry with Zeus that they'll start fighting each other. Plot convenience, featuring Prometheus. No, but seriously, I really liked his design, his Nightmare Before Christmas form in this chapter. It looks very menacing. And apparently Napoleon has a sword form. I mean, we already knew that Napoleon was a sword. It's like, it's a hat and a sword. But his face goes from the skull and bones to the actual blade, which to me is a pretty clear indicator that Big Mom has some hidden sword techniques that we haven't seen before. Because what would be the point of telling Napoleon, go into your sword form, if she could basically do the exact same thing that she could back when he was in his hat form? So there's something here that, I mean, and normally you would make the assumption that because, she's getting skinnier, that she would be getting weaker, but I think it's the opposite. I think she's getting stronger. At the same time, though, I kind of got the impression that maybe she summoned in Prometheus specifically because she needed some of that life force that Prometheus has from her. So maybe she's more powerful, but she also needs more energy. Now, by the end of the chapter, Big Mom clearly jumps aboard the Sunny. You see her land on the deck of the Sunny, which is, I think, proof of how strong the atom wood is that the Sunny is made out of, that it could actually withstand a jump of a woman that size. Okay, and then Jinbei says, stand back everyone, we may have to abandon the ship. No matter what happens, there's a couple of options, a couple of people that can show up. Like if they end up jumping into the water, Jinbei's friends, the Sun Pirates, the fishmen can show up to help. We know the Vinsmokes are on their way there, so they may show up as well. And Nami, by the end of the chapter, we get a shot of her with her tempo, and we saw that Zeus is in his normal form. So, you know, again, maybe Nami is in fact going to use Zeus to her advantage again, and sort of, you know, cause a problem between him and Prometheus or something, right? So there's a lot of options here, and at this point, it's just a matter of stalling Big Mom to wait for Sanji. One thing, though, is for sure, and that is the fact that this part of the climax of the arc will be a battle at sea, which is something that I believe one of Oda's editors said that that's one of the things that Oda wanted to do a little bit more of. More ship battles, more battles at sea to recapture the essence of the pirate story. And that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Big Mom looks crazy intense in that final page. And the great part about this chapter is that it leaves us with like just hype everywhere. After this point, this is where the action beats begin to hit, one after the other, and they don't stop until the end of the arc. So I can't wait for that. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you did. I really appreciate that. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, because I do One Piece reviews. And what were your thoughts about the chapter? Let me know down below. Thank you guys. Catch you later. Bye.